Hello, and welcome to another edition of Power of the Pen. I am LaWanna Bradford here with co-founder and co-host Miss Barbara Beckley. And you're probably wondering, co-founder of what? Of this show? Co-founder of Celebrate You, Women Embracing Wellness, which is an amazing global movement designed to provide platforms such as this so that women can elevate their voice, stand up boldly in their authenticity. And we believe that when women are able to do so, then they're able to love, embrace, and celebrate themselves mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, and financially in order to be not only the change they want to see in the world, but the change the world sees. Because when we are able to do this, ladies, and to the men who are supporting us, then we can impact the lives of our family, the community, the nation, and the world. How's it going, Barbara?
Going very well. I'm so glad to be co-hosting the Power of the Pen today with you.
Yes. I'm excited because today we have a very unique show and special show. Normally we are talking about specific books on this show and or the authors of these publications. But today we want to talk about the benefit of this platform, the benefit of Power of the Pen 2023. Get ready to win. I'm amazed how quickly this year has gone by. And I remember when I was younger, I would hear, the older guard saying, time waits for no one. Time is flying. And back then you're thinking, it's dragging. When is that birthday coming? When is Christmas coming? Now you blink and it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Like back in the day, when I'm going to graduate, when I'm going to get out the house, when I'm going to move on, now it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Slow down. Put the brakes on. Yes, it seems like it's accelerating. But speaking of acceleration, for those of us who are authors, this is the time to remind people about what you do, the books you have, the books you've written or are planning on writing. Or we featured, I don't know, was it about 10 authors who came on to talk about their books?
It was about that amount, yeah. Mm-hmm. And it was so nice to do that because we got a chance to hear that, everybody's different purpose on why they wrote the book and the reason why we should maybe buy the book. And I think that's the important part. Like, okay, you wrote the book. Now, why should we read it, buy it, treasure it?
Exactly. And what Barbara and I want to talk about today is the value of Power of the Pen, the value of not only the power that you have in your written word, but the power of this show and the benefit that it gives to you, the fuel that it provides to your book, the exposure that it provides to readers who might not otherwise know that you exist. Right, Barbara?
Yeah. It's important kind of for them to know that. that's one important part about that. So glad you brought that up, LaWanna.
You, Barbara, is a visibility strategist. And one of the things that she talks about is beyond knowing your purpose and your passion and your drive. It's like, okay, well, how do I get the visibility and exposure that we need? And I'll just turn it over to you, Barbara, because that's one of the things that this show gives to those authors and to just books that we think will help inspire, motivate, and encourage others.
Yes. And that's what I love about this show. That gives you that platform. Visibility is the key. Once I always say, that purpose, I'm not getting to the purpose part, but more on the visibility, but the purpose goes with it because once you get that book, you know what you're putting in the book, whatever topic it is that you're talking about, then the visibility comes in. You can't hide in a corner and say, oh, I got a book and no one knows about it. First of all, it would hurt us as people that wants to read the book because we don't know where to get the information that you put in so lovely. You put all that time and energy in it. Why would you hide it? Why would you put it to the side? Why would you not put it out there? I mean, that's the question is, why would you not be visible to put that book out there?
And there's so many, and Barbara and I, we do many trainings on this. In fact, some of the trainings we've actually featured on this platform. So not only is it a place to showcase authors and their books, but it's also a place where you can get some training, some inspiration on how to leverage different avenues, different platforms, how to spin your message, how to repurpose things. And one of the things we were talking about, Barbara, is the different ways you can use that book, right? The book can serve as an introduction, that high-end business card. It can open up other doors for speaking engagements if that's what you want to do. There's so much more than just the opening chapter to ending chapter read. If you know how to, again, leverage the different platforms that are out there. And that's what I love about this show is we also, again, not just featuring authors in their books, but giving tips and tools and strategies to create more exposure, more impact, more increase in your income that you want using your book, using your story.
Yes. Yeah, and then I like, because just to back about the credibility of this, LaWanna, she's over what, 9 books, Amazon international bestseller. I have a few here and there myself, and we learn through going through the cycle of that and understand not just writing the book, even if you're in a collaborative book or your own book, but also understanding that it's very important to get it out there and how to strategically put it out there. And this is one of the ways to do it, is being on a show like Power of the Pen to do that.
And I like what you said. Through our lived experiences, that's why we're so passionate about this platform. And we come on. It's not something that we said, oh, let's go to Google University and figure something out that we're going to pitch to you. But it's from our experiences where we hit a wall, where we didn't have the resources or the support that we needed to create exposure. So we started to become a student of the craft and studying others and figuring out, okay, how are you getting spotlighted over here? How are you getting a press release over here? How do you have this as seen on ABC, NBC, Market Watch? How does that happen? How do you get these speaker engagements? How did you go from writer to now international speaker and author? How did you develop a workshop based on a book that you wrote or a chapter that you wrote? There's so many opportunities that can splinter from the book if you want it. And that's what we're able to do here on this platform, is provide those tips. Barbara.
I don't know, just you give the list of stuff of what you can get, all the opportunities. I'm like, it still blows my mind. And I know we teach it, we talk about it, but like you said, that's why we have that. I always say this yearning to help other authors out there to make sure that they're getting their word, they're getting their story, whatever, like I said, whatever you're writing about out there. And look at the benefits. This is one thing that I know I've learned from LaWanna, because we learn from each other too, as the partners, is that you need to make sure that when you're getting on a platform that is giving you the visibility that's needed and the reach. And with Power of the Pen, and I know we'll go a little bit into that just a little later, but it's not just getting on the platform and just talking about your book. I mean, anybody can do that. You can go on Facebook Lives and do that. But it's a strategic way of doing it, and being on a show like this, really focusing on you and what you're doing with your book matters a lot when you're getting that visibility.
I love that. And if you're interested in learning more about this platform, about me, about Barbara, and how you might be able to be featured on Power of the Pen, we are scheduling out already for January, February of 2023. So we would love to talk to you. And it may be a book that you didn't write. I want to say this. It may be a book that has inspired you, and you want to feature that book and you'd like to talk about it. We do that too. We've had opportunities as that. Larcenia White was on sharing a book about all things lovely, and we're going to have her back in 2023. And we're excited because we're going to show how you can take a book that has inspired you to create a movement of your own, to create training of your own, to inspire other people using things that are already there, right? So you become the messenger of the message.
Ooh.
So there's, again, this platform is so rich and there's so many opportunities. So again, if you're interested, as Barbara said, being on the show, send an email of interest to LaWanna at bradfordgroupmtg.com. It's scrolling below, and simply put power of the pen in the subject line. Someone from the team will reach out to you. We'll send you a little brief form so you can tell us a little bit about you, your book, or a book that's inspired you. And we'll have a talk, make sure that it fits for both you, for our viewing audience, and then we'll get you on the show. So we're really excited to hear from you. Again, we are already booking into January 2023 and February 2023. I want to talk about leverage the power of co-branding. Co-branding. The Bradford Group, owned by me, the Diamond Factor, owned by Barbara. In partnership, we're the Bradford Group Diamond Factor Collaborative. It's co-branding. We're leveraging our names, our resources, our audiences to further our reach, to further our impact, to drive more income so that we can create the change that we have envisioned separately and independently in the world. And do you know you can co-brand on platforms? You can co-brand on other people's platforms. Power of the Pen. Barbara, give me a name of one of your books.
One of my books. I just went a blank. Well, what, 31 Ways? You want to do that one?
Okay. Power of the Pen and 31 Ways of Influence by Barbara Beckley. Now you're thinking, well, how is that a co-brand? Well, it's co-branded because now Barbara is on the show, being spotlighted as a guest, but being co-branded by her book. And her book now becomes the sponsor of the event. So now everything that goes out, all promotional material about the upcoming episode, now says Power of the Pen featuring 31 Ways of Influence, sponsored by Barbara Beckley and the Diamond Factor / 31 Ways of Influence. So you're on the show, but now you're co-branded with a show that, keep in mind, this is a television show. So no matter where you're watching, you may be watching on any of our streaming platforms, social media platforms. Our home is E360 TV. You may be listening to us on iHeart, Spotify. But think about that. Think about all those little avenues I just mentioned. But now not only are you a guest, you've been co-branded with a show that has a total viewing reach of 3 million. 3+ million. Actually, I haven't gone and counted every little bean, but 3+ million viewing audience. And I'm talking viewing, not our listenership on the podcast. I'm just speaking about the E360 television platform of 3 million plus viewers in the US, Canada, UK, and a few other countries. That's powerful if you understand the art of leverage, how to leverage, and how to co-brand. Barbara, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I mean, that is powerful, because now you're not only having your own brand being lifted up, okay, the visibility, we're talking about this visibility, you co-branding with a brand that's already been established, that's already having those viewers, as LaWanna said, and that's helping you in marketing because they're putting out and promoting you. How would you pass that up? I just thought about it. I'm like, that's cool. That's good. Yeah.
Right. And individuals don't use that enough. And I think sometimes we get in our mindset, this is my little domain, my little message. Yes, it's your message. No one's going to take it away from you. But when you understand the art and the power of leveraging and co-branding, I'm telling you, you can go from obscure to sensational, and just exponentially. It's just amazing, because I know and I'll let Barbara, you share, with me, I remember my first collaborative book. It was a nightmare. It really was. Not to slight the collaborator, but it was just not a pleasant experience. And sometimes we have those, right? And so wrote the book, and then it was just not knowing, well, what do I do next? There was, just didn't have the guidance. And that's okay, because sometimes you don't know what you're supposed to ask. You don't know what you don't know. But now that I know certain things before I get into those partnerships, because a collaboration, I see it as a partnership, I know what questions to ask. But going back to the story, so I had this nightmare experience, and I'm like, now what do I do? And Barbara had shared, she had a total opposite experience. This wonderful, she shared everything she got. I'm like, really? I didn't get that. But because she was sharing with me, I'm like, okay, I may not have received it on this side. I'm now learning from someone else's experience. And I'm learning these tips and strategies to use to help me to rebrand myself. Like I said, it was not a good experience. I need to rebrand myself. I wanted to separate myself from the book. Again, it was a bestseller, so celebrate the best-selling component of it, but separate myself in moving where I wanted to go, because the book didn't go in the direction we thought it was going to go. Just being transparent, sometimes those things happen. That's why having conversations is key. But following some of the guidance that had been given to Barbara, then I got this other knock on the door from this amazing collaborator, Dr. Duranche, international phenomenon. She's currently in Kenya. Because of that experience with her, a book that I was in later, written for a U.S. audience, is now being handed out and read by women in Kenya. That's powerful. But if I had just stayed where I was, I would have been frozen and probably thought, I'm not going to do this again. This just was not good. But because I met someone, I shared my story about sometimes stories are not good. You share your experience and someone else will come along and say, well, why don't you try A, B, and C? And that opened the door for something bigger, greater, more powerful than I could have ever imagined. And I'm not just talking about the book, and I'm not saying just to minimize it. The book in Kenya is huge, but the partnership that came almost 3 years later from that collaboration with Dr. Duranche, where Barbara, Dr. Duranche, and I hosted our first international conference this year. And that was amazing. We had women from the US, UK, Australia, India, Canada, and actually Kenya was in the house, and in a couple of the islands. And that was powerful. But again, from that exposure, someone seeing me, someone hearing, because I took my message and I was using it in a different way, and it opened up the doors, it opened up awareness. And that's one of the things that this show allows you to do through tapping into some of the training platforms that we have on here. Barbara.
Yeah, that's powerful. I'm glad you shared that, because like LaWanna said, now think about it. How about if LaWanna didn't even, like maybe me and her didn't talk, or she decided, I had that bad experience, never again, not going to do it. So you shutting that door. If she would have did that, everything that happened with her having that door open, or just a little bit open, you see what happened. The visibility just went sky high with her, with myself. I was brought on the ride. Duranche, she brought us on the ride. We were all on this ride together. And this is how we exploded and came together in other ways to create, like you said, that summit. Now, just to add to that, we're talking about the visibility. This also adds to your credibility. That's why I tell people it's so important, because it does add, because when you're adding, you have your credibility yourself with the book. I get that. But then when you co-brand with others, then it goes just like the visibility is going increasing, your credibility is increasing too, because now you have others that understand. That's in your same, where you're at, and you're all growing together, and you're giving credibility to each other, which is giving credit. This is putting out there to everybody else that's looking at your book and looking what you're doing.
I've been searching for a gold mine, Been digging for a long time, looking for a diamond of the rarest kind. Then one day I found a perfect treasure, a worth of impossible measure. I started to pray, then I heard you say you would forever be mine. I struck love, now that I have found you, I struck love.
I want to again welcome all of you who are joining us on E360 TV and other viewing platforms, and to our listening audience on iHeartRadio as well as Spotify, to our special edition of Power of the Pen, where we are talking about the benefits of Power of the Pen 2023. Get ready to win. And before we get into the second half of our show, I want to show you a little commercial about being featured on Power of the Pen. All right. Well, we are back, and for the second half of this show, we are going to talk about understand the value of dominating a platform. Understand the value of dominating a platform. And again, if you want to be on a guest on Power of the Pen, simply send an email to LaWanna at bradfordgroupmtg.com and put Power of the Pen. Also, you can follow me and Barbara. My handles are up above. LaWanna Bradford on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm sorry, Instagram is the LaWanna Bradford. So Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Barbara, how can people reach you on social media?
On Instagram, it's Diamond Factor Experience. And then everywhere else, it's just Barbara Beckley.
Okay. Yay. So let's talk about the value of dominating the platform. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to toss it over to Barbara. Power of the Pen is a, minus the commercials, about a 45 to 50 minute show. Imagine coming on a show where you're being interviewed, a targeted interview about you and your book for 45 minutes. You're not sharing the stage with another author. There's nothing else happening. It's about you. And by the way, did I say you? Let's talk about that platform domination, Barbara. You're on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you would continue to go. I didn't know you were ready for me. So yeah, so I was thinking when you were saying understand dominating the platform, you're building your own little, in a sense, like a book launch or a book campaign under Power of the Pen when you think about that, because this is you for what, 45 minutes, LaWanna? You said 45, they get 45 minutes of you talking about your book, why you did it, what's the reason for it, and even, the extra, like the extra cherry on top, I want to say, is that since you're dominating the platform, maybe when you talk to the producer, Miss LaWanna Bradford, you can get more information about even having a video about your book within the 45 minutes of what you're talking about your book. So see, all that, given all that credibility that you're putting out there, being seen on Power of the Pen and getting that visibility, it just took you to another level.
Right. And the one thing about domination is, and I'm going to give you a comparison. Let's say you get a call from a local network, ABC network. Someone's heard about your book and they're like, hey, Barbara, would love to have you. You hear that you were in 31 Ways of Influence. I'd like to talk to you. And Barbara's excited. Yes. And you have 3 minutes. The question is, are you going to be ready for that 3 minute of fame? And the reason why I ask that, and I don't ask it lightheartedly, it's a very serious question. Would you be ready? would you be able to take that book that you've written, your story as to why, selling the purpose, the impact of it, condense it down into a 3-minute pitch that technically you really don't have 3 minutes, because from end to end it's 3 minutes, meaning from the time that interviewer starts asking you the questions. So you may actually have about a minute and a half, minute 45 seconds to say everything it is that you want to say.
Wow.
And that's a good thing, because you can say S, CNN, ABC, whatever. But you only have 3 minutes. Now imagine dominating a platform that says, we want to focus on you for 45 minutes. Now you can take that, get a copy of the episode, slice and dice it into mini programming pieces that you can use to further market and further increase your reach. And that's another training that Barbara and we've done on this platform, but we do in independent masterclass trainings to show you how you can take that one moment in time, make it evergreen, repurpose it to continue to stay fresh in the minds of your viewers, to reach more people who've never heard of you, to even cross promote with other people, to use as a little commercial spot if you're going to be speaking on a stage and pulling a chapter from your book. There's so many things you can do if you know how and if you know what to do. So with this platform, I think the power of the pen is a great resource for you as an author, for you as whether you're a sole author or in a collaborative book, and you want to again expand your reach, be a dominant presence on a platform, not having competing interests with another author. It all depends on, again, what you want to do, and we customize it to that, because the goal is to spotlight you, to make it you a story of interest for our audience. And then this is the big thing. You actually get an opportunity when you're dominating the platform, and I can tell you TV is not going to give you this. A main TV station is at the end of the show, at the end of that, almost at the end of the 45 minutes, it's turned over to you, where you basically have the platform independent of the host for 3 to 5 minutes, speaking directly to the audience, telling them what you want to know, how they can reach you, how they can get your book, where they can get your book. That's pretty powerful. And then it's a closeout with the host echoing, if you want this book, and you'll see it on the ticker, so it's another promotion avenue. You can get this book on Amazon.com, name of the book. You can reach the author. Here's the author, contact information. So again, think about the different avenues that are out there. Power of the Pen is one, but others where you have the opportunity to dominate the platform.
Yeah. And
if they don't offer it to you, know how to ask and negotiate that. And that's something else that Barbara and I train on.
Yes.
And the last thing we're going to talk about is virtual book launch. I want to just put this up here. How a virtual book launch can benefit you throughout the year. And that's one of the things that we are starting in 2023 for our authors, whether you're in a collaborative book or an independent book, allowing not on Power of the Pen. It will be hosted by Power of the Pen, but it's on another E360 channel called Central Live. And it allows you to a 2-hour spot of a virtual book launch. And we talk about the strategy with that. But that's pretty powerful. So I'll give you an example. If you have a collaborative book and there are 10 authors, then we work with the collaborator to find out, how many authors, how much time that they want for each author. We shape it so just as you would have an in-person book launch, we would have a virtual book launch. And then which would guide people, direct people if they wanted a signed copy of your book. Well, then if you're author A, then how can you get a signed copy of author A's books? We would either drive them to the main site or to your independent site. So again, it's a great opportunity for you as an independent author or as a collaborative author. And the benefit in that is, again, you get to walk away with your clip, your piece of this. So which serves you, which you can use on other platforms, on your websites, etc. to, again, share your message. Barbara, is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, another thing I just want to add to that is with a book launch, some people sometime in their mind think, okay, I just finished my book, now let me go launch it, and then I can't do any more launches, or that's it. That's how you do it. That's the process. And I tell people, you can always, I don't care if you had the book for 6 months, a year, even if you haven't wrote it yet, you're still writing it, you can still have that book launch. I just had two clients that I had for social media, but they wrote a book too. And they told me they wrote one book, it was 2 years ago. Well, they said they want to do a relaunch of it because it's been a while. And they added some things in the book. They kind of updated it and stuff. I said, I told them about this. I said, well, we're going to be having virtual book launches. They're like, I never thought about that. I can always do a book launch. I said, yes. So I just want to remind people that just doesn't have to be just when you finish the book or about to finish the book, but you can do a book launch at any time you want to get the book out there.
Yes. And I want to make a send out an ask or a call to action to collaborators that are out there. If you have past books on the horizon, and you're looking for innovative and creative ways to spotlight this collaboration, to spotlight your authors, reach out to me, reach out to Barbara. Let's have a conversation. Let's see if it makes sense. Can we create that win-win? And then let's help you move forward in 2023. Again, this is again the power of collaborating, the power of co-branding. So we're very interested in that. Also, if you're an individual who does publishing, help authors get published. If you're a person who's a graphic artist, to help people design covers for their books, anything that you may do to help authors, we'd love to feature you, because again, it's about not just the book, but about providing resources. So we would love to have you come on, to interview you, to find out what it is that you do to drive the viewing audience over to your side of the equation. Because again, there are things that Barbara and I don't do and don't want to do, but we are greater because of the partnerships that we have and the resources that we have that we're able to offer to others and to benefit just the whole journey in writing. Right, Barbara?
Yes, definitely. Totally agree.
Well, I want to show another video before we show. Well, actually, I probably should show the E360 since we just talked about the book launch. Yeah. Because you may be wondering, well, actually, what is E360 TV? So this will give you a little glimpse into the company, the network, and this is where the book launch will be featured. And I want to point out two things that I hope you saw on that very fast video is reaching mass audiences, key. But number two is it is branded to you. So when we do this book launch, again, it's being hosted on the E360 television platform. by Live Central. But the show is totally branded with you, with your book, with your colors. Everything will be schemed for that purpose. And again, it's the goal is for us to make an indelible, memorable mark as we reach new audiences. And again, we're talking about an audience reach of over 3 million individuals who have the potential to hear about you, to hear about your book. Who would say no to that? I mean, you can do, your Facebook lives, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can do now, since everything has opened up, you can go and do in-person book launches. There's nothing wrong with that. But think about the power of being on a TV network. And you saw the other thing, it was talking about all the different streaming platforms. So the visual streaming platforms, and then I mentioned iHeartRadio, Spotify, all of those that are picking you up. Think about multiplying the reach of that. So the 3 million that I'm talking about is E360 TV. It's not the Apple, it's not Samsung, it's not Roku, it's 360. It's a no-brainer for some, for others not, but I'm all about maximizing reach, maximizing exposure, maximizing impact, and then having the collateral that I can take with me to slice and dice and repurpose any way I want. That to me is priceless. Barbara, what are your thoughts about that?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at, okay, you're having this phenomenal launch of you, but basically you, right? All those people watching, and then the other part of that is that you get it in video, you get it, and then you can add it, you can slice and dice it, like LaWanna said, and put it out there more and more and more. So now you're getting the reach even added, because now you have the video, you have the real live, you have the people watching, all these people. It's just the whole package is just an awesome way to, and then the co-branding. See, we talk, all of this wraps around all of that. Because now, not only co-branding, just being on the Power of the Pen, now that's one thing, being on the show, but now you're talking about a live launch that we're really doing. We're kind of like partnering you as like, we're kind of your campaign marketing team. And we're coming in and we're basically exploding it even more for you.
Right, because it becomes a feature show on the network. That's why it's under another channel called Live Central. That's a special channel for those, like you think about if you're watching TV and feature programming, right? It's like, okay, this week's show will be interrupted because of this feature programming. Well, this is feature programming. It will not be at 2:00 on Sundays with Power of the Pen. The time will be conducive to what works for you. That's what we will get, different time slots, and then we'll negotiate with the network to find out the availability, just lock that time slot in, that date, and then work with you on the whole lineup, what it's going to look like. And again, the level of complexity. Some people want to go all out and have this whole multimedia platform. Others want it very simple, where it's, I just want my authors to come on and you interview them, and that's that. It's totally, the design is up to you. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that we talk about in the discovery session. And typically, just from a timeline standpoint, we ask for 4 to 6 weeks, because depending on what it is, we may need to make sure that we're able to get you in the lineup and that your space locked in. But as far as the planning, and again, depending on how elaborate it is, 6 weeks is really a good sweet spot. So think about that as you're thinking forward. Oh, I would love to have a book launch in 2023. Whenever that is, then back up to that and reach out to us so we can at least get that conversation going and that date locked in. Because Live Central is not under my control. It's the network's control. So again, I don't have the same latitude that I have on Power of the Pen. And that's why we need to make sure that it's negotiated and you are plugged in and your time and slot are secured. So really excited. Yay, yay. We encourage you all to be safe and remember the power of the pen. Your voice matters. and that in life and in business, when opportunity intersects, when your vision intersects with opportunity, remember that success is inevitable. Until next week, we'll see you soon. Thanks, Barbara.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.